The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, hello everyone. I'm going to wait just one more minute. I think we're at the 2 o'clock mark here on Eastern time, at least, and have a couple of people still popping in. I see for the attendees. While we wait, I just want to do some housekeeping. Hopefully, you could hear my voice. I don't know how to reach people. If they can, I could send, I guess, a chat message or something. But hopefully, you can hear my voice a-okay. You could hear the music a little bit before. That means your speakers or your headphones or whatever it might be is a-okay. The second thing I want to let you know is that on your control panel, you should have a handout section. And there's going to be two handouts available. One is a sign-in sheet, and I'm not keeping official attendance. There is a registration thing that I can take a look at in case I need to look up an email, or if you send me a question or something, I just miss your name or email, I can look you up. But there is a sign-in sheet that you can print out and use at your own building or at your own school. And that way, if you need to keep attendance for the people in the room right now, or there's you have it up on the overhead projector or whatever it might be, you can have a sign-in sheet. But I do not require a sign-in sheet. Second handout there is going to be the certificate. So I know people are interested in a certificate. I get it. So we want to make sure that you get it. So Chris Lambert and his crack ACCSC team, they put together the certificate that's going to be in the handout section. It's a PDF certificate. It's not personalized. So again, if you need to print this out, and you could print 20 copies, hand it out to everybody, sign it, and you're good to go. If you, for whatever reason, cannot click on it, you cannot access it, it's not loading up during the webinar, you are more than welcome to hang tight just for a little bit. Once the webinar ends, you will get an email. Whoever signed up for the webinar today will get an email. And then at the very last thing, in case you missed that one too, the team is going to put up the certificate, a recording of this, all up on the website, accsc.org. So hopefully you can get it, whether it's in the handout section, it's going to be in your email inbox, whoever signed up, and it's going to be on the website. So hopefully sooner or later you can grab it. And my hope is that you can just click on it right now and download the PDF. So when you load up this GoToWebinar, there should be that control panel. Again, there's a hard looks at soft skills certificate. It's a PDF, so you can personalize it yourself. So print out 20 copies, put David on it, Vanessa on it, or Chris on it, or Ann on it, whoever it might be. Print all those on it. You should be A-okay. And then if you need a sign-in sheet, there is a sign-in sheet that you can download. Of course, you're more than welcome to use your own personal sign-in sheets, but we just wanted to provide one just in case you need one to print out in the last second here as someone's scrambling to the printer and to the copier or whatever it might be to get that one. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll just give one more minute. I want to give one more minute. I still see people popping in and whatnot. I want to make sure everybody gets a-okay, and we'll start here in 1 minute. Hopefully everything's working out okay, and we'll go ahead and begin our first webinar in a series, Hard Look at Soft Skills. We're trying to figure out ways to maybe implement it a little bit more efficiently, or maybe a little more practical, or maybe for the first time into our curriculum today. On your control panel, there is a questions and chat button, I believe. I don't know which one it's called on your end. But if you want to shoot some questions over, I'll try to answer them much as possible. If I miss it, I will try to get the you guys responded and send an email out to Chris Lambert and his crew to make sure everybody's questions gets answered. Sometimes there's like a slew of questions. It's like my email inbox. I just can't get to everybody right away, and I do apologize if I don't get to you right away. But definitely send those questions. I'll be more than happy to answer it. And if I can't answer it during this 1 hour webinar, I will definitely spend some time this evening and making sure to answer everybody's questions as best as possible. So, all right, I think we're 3 after, so I think we're ready to roll. And so what I'd like to do is just one last time, just to make sure, since in case you just joined us, is that the certificate and the webinar sign-in sheet is right in the handout section. You should hopefully see a GoToWebinar control panel. And there might be a couple different sections. And there's a section that's going to be called handouts. There should be, it says 2 of 5, I believe, on it. I think we could upload 5. There's 2 of them. There's the certificate and there's a sign-in sheet just for you. It's not a Chris Lambert sign-in sheet where he's going to go knocking on your door and call you up if you don't show up. It's your personal sign-in sheet. And then we also have the hard look at soft skills certificate. That's in the handout section. Now, if you can't get to it right away, or if you just want to kick back and relax right now, we will email you as soon as the webinar ends. The software should kick you the certificate email, and you should get that in your inbox shortly thereafter the webinar ends. And after that, we'll put it up on the website, the accsc.org website. And if you go to, I believe if you go to the website, you click on, I'm trying to remember from memory, events and then webinars. This one should be at the near top. And at the website, it's going to be really cool because I said Chris and his crack team, they're going to provide the webinar recording. They're going to provide the hard looks at soft skills certificate for you as well. And then there's additional information to sign up for the second, third, and fourth webinar as we begin our journey for just kind of taking a look at educating the whole student. And that's what we're going to kick off today. All right, so I just want to make sure everybody's okay. And again, no need to sign in officially. If you want to sign in at your own building, you're more than welcome to sign in your own building, but you could download that. It's a doc file, so Microsoft Word, download that, print that out, have your group sign in. I'm not keeping official attendance. I'll do Scout's honor to make sure you're supposed to be here. Anyway, let's just, I'm going to continue on here. I said we're looking about 5 after. That's a perfect time to begin here. And so what I want to do is if you did a Google search for soft skills research right now, I bet within 20 seconds, every one of us could come up and find some study that more or less says students and people in the workforce lack soft skills, right? And I don't think that's surprising for most people. And whether the study's from 2009 or 2019, we'll see, this issue is an ongoing issue. It's something that just didn't pop up in 2018, 2019. You'll see studies from 2013, 2012, 2009, and so on. And you'll see this kind of call for soft skills in our students that are coming out, graduating from our schools. But, there's a slew of studies. One that kind of got my attention here, and this is one from, it's called Wainhouse Research, and they had a research study called The Role of Education in Building Soft Skills. I came across this one a couple years ago, but I saved it because it was very, it had this wow factor for me a little bit. And I want you to pay attention to the 4 plus 4 plus 4 up there. That's about 12%, hopefully. My math is correct. And what this means is that what happens is, according to their research that they did, this in particular one, they found 12% of the respondents, that's the 4 plus 4 plus 4 there, they believe knowledge, academic knowledge, the hard skills, was more important than the skills or the soft skills in the workplace. I mean, wow, 12% think hard skills is more important than soft skills. So basically, what they're trying to tell me is that I can start my school of soft skills, maybe educate my students for 9 months, year and a half, whatever it might be. Then in the very last class, in my career prep class, I'll teach them all the terminology and the clinicals and the labs, and that should appease a majority of business owners. And now I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but that's what this is showing us. And this is just one of many studies that show that a lot of business owners and HR departments really put an emphasis on soft skills. So I just wanted to share that one with you. And I wanted to go to a quick introduction as to why. And so obviously, I really believe that, us as career and technical college educators, we're already doing an awesome job educating, training, and placing students in jobs and careers that they want to get into. And it falls upon our time with our students to not only get, their foot in the door, but my career management director always says, we want to get their foot in the door, but they also want to get them in the elevator so they can rise up in their chosen field. And I think soft skills is going to be kind of like the catalyst, the fire starter to go see this rise in their position. They can get in the door, but maybe they don't stay because they lack certain soft skills, or they can't move up and they can't earn more money. So we're just trying to figure out why and how we can maybe enhance our student success in the workplace. And this goes right along with the ACCSC's mission, and that's to ensure quality education that enhances student success in the workforce. Soft skills will enhance the student success in the workforce. So hopefully that will be a-okay. So what I'd like to do is like kind of start at the end, and if you can, put in the questions or chat area for me. If I asked you, what does a model graduate look like in your program, your school, or in your community? If you had to rattle off one or two traits of a model graduate, what would you say? Now I know we're going to be biased a little bit because of the topic of this webinar, but like if we just had to say two important things that you feel is going to be a soft skill, or maybe things that you hear from the area businesses, what would that be? I'm just give you a moment there. Try to think of one, or if you want to, throw it into the question or chat area. I'll see if I can get any in there. All right, got some good things in there. I got critical thinking, skills, dedication. Everything is, yep, that's everything's showing up pretty good. And again, if you're just joining us, I see some people joining us. That's why I like to pause at the very beginning. You should see the PowerPoint screen in front of us. You should hopefully hear my voice. I don't know how to reach people who aren't hearing my voice besides send you a private message. And then you can hopefully in the information that you got sent, if you're having trouble with the link, you can always re-click that link in the email, or there is a phone number you could call in to do audio with the phone number when you first log into the GoToWebinar here. But hopefully you can see those screen. You can hear the audio and everything's looking a-okay. I see some people just trickling, so I want to make sure they get it. Wow, you guys are awesome. Employable, dedication, professionalism. The model graduates, dedicated, they're engaged, confidence, all tons of stuff. Awesome. Ethical, yep, that's a good one. Perseverance, communication, attention, time management. Those are perfect. It's almost like you're reading my PowerPoint ahead of time. If I paid you guys to do that, it'd been perfect. So what we also saw too, and I'm looking at the chat here, is that there's a lot of hard skills, which I think is important. And I always think about I want to make sure that the person who, I run into a medical assistant, I want to make sure they know how to draw my blood correctly, right? Or if I go to an automotive place, the auto repair specialist can fix my radiator or whatever it might be. They need those hard skills. And that's what we do so well, and we are right on the money. I think our sector is the best at this. Whether you're a vet tech or you're going to business, HVAC, nursing, welding, CDL, whatever it might be, we got that down pretty well. But what we're also finding out is through the different businesses in our community, and again the research that's telling us that we could find in about 20 seconds, is that there is this large portion of our graduates are lacking, not all of these obviously, but maybe some parts, maybe it is all of them, but they're lacking this, how to work well on a team, how they communicate with their supervisors, their coworkers, their patients or customers. There's traits about thinking critically. I saw a lot of thinking critically come through the chat and questions here. And then there's also having that good work ethic. And I saw that a professionalism, good work ethic, you're dependable. I saw time management, you can make your deadlines. Those are all kind of like the big chunk of the iceberg, I believe, because we can, again, a lot of the research is telling us, hey, it's awesome that they have all these skills, but man, they can't communicate with the customers, or they don't know how to take criticism, in a good way, or, they're just not dependable. They're not showing up and they're just calling off for no reason. Or there's things go on in their day, and if it's not a straight road from start to finish, they kind of get off track and they panic, and they just kind of lose their mind a little bit when change happens. They're not adept to change. And this is what we're seeing a need in. So we have this mixture. So it's like the iceberg, or it's like this big brewing pot. You're stirring in this hard skills and soft skills. And that's what we want to try to think about. Are we doing enough in our classroom? And that's a personal question for you, or for you and your team, is what are we doing well, and what can we improve upon with soft skills? Now I'm going to paint a very broad paint stroke here, but working with schools of various sizes in different locations, we tend to see this path of success for students involving like orientation. They take general education courses, maybe they go through their core courses, they go through supporting courses. Then at the very end, there maybe is a career preparation course officially, or there's some kind of career prep unofficially that goes on. And the poor career management department tries to solidify their resume writing. They enforce the need to do a dry run to the interview because in my area it's like people don't want to go drive to the big city of Pittsburgh or something like that. There's one-way streets and I don't know how to parallel park, and there's so much traffic, and they get nervous and they don't anticipate the traffic and stuff like that. Maybe they teach them how to do a proper handshake, and basically like to be themselves but not be themselves in the interview stages, kind of be like a super souped up version of yourself. And then at the very end too, I know the career management department and the program coordinators at the end, they always try to emphasize and pack in a lot of soft skills here. But I think at the career and technical schools that we're all involved in, we have this opportunity to not install a bunch of soft skills and employability skills at the summit of a student's academic path. I think we should really build these soft skills right from the start, during orientation, during their first day in class, and every day thereafter. And this topic and this theme comes down to basically instilling this automatic reflex to be on time, to use proper language in professional settings all the time, to work well in teams of various people every day. And basically involves instilling a new mindset and establishing a good soft skills routine that's developed throughout a student's entire time at the school. The routine is going from start to finish, orientation, or even going in from when they're getting into the admissions department. It's stressing these soft skills that's going to be, evaluated and built upon from day one. You can use that as something that, puts you over the edge to the people down the street. Is like, we realize hard skills, but we also want to emphasize soft skills. And that can be done before they even step in your classroom. It's done during admissions. So work with your admissions team and try to figure out this narrative to push this, we're going to have a good routine built for you. So it's not at the very end and you're saying, okay, I know you were late to class every other day and stuff, but like now it's crunch time. We need to make sure you get this routine good. Well, you need to build this routine up, for the 9 months, the 6 months, the year and a half, 2 years, or whatever it might be when they're in your program. Because the awesome thing is if they do it for that long, it's going to be natural. They're going to start showing up on time in class, and then they're going to show up on time at the workplace. They're going to not use curse words in the classroom, in the lab. They're going to, know that this is, a professional environment, and they're going to get used to that. They're going to have this habit of not saying, inappropriate things when they want to. Or maybe they're not going to use their phone. I don't know how many people that we've run into when I worked at a school. We had a career management department, and then just people putting away their phone for more than 15 minutes. They always have their phones out. I'm walking through the department stores nowadays, and it's people stocking shelves on their phones and stuff like that. And it's amazing that they can't put down their phone. And I don't know, that's a lot of cause for headaches, not only for the people who own the businesses, but it's for the students as well, because then they feel like, well, I don't know why I got let go, or I'm not going anywhere in my career. It's these little soft skill habits that we want to try to instill on them. And so I thought this was like a good idea. If we kind of keep this idea of like we want to build good habits from the get-go, I think we're on the right path. So that's all the kind of the beginning part. So how do we embed it into our curriculum from start to finish, from orientation to graduation? And that's going to be the big question right now. And so just like how we thought about looking at the end for the model graduate, you guys had all kinds of awesome things to put in for different traits for a model graduate, whether it's hard skills or soft skills. We want to look at the end, and we want to look at what does the profession dictate that are good soft skills. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to we're at a faculty meeting right now, and I get my hat out and I give everybody a Post-it note or a note card, and I go, write down a soft skill and fold it up, put it in the hat, and we'll just pick a couple of them to do this next 6 weeks or 9 weeks or whatever it might be. You are going to hit the soft skills, obviously, but you want to have a more kind of guided approach to hit the soft skills that's most important for your students, for your community. And what I think a good first step to do is to look at what the profession dictates. So, for example, here I put up a little slide that I had of we were working with IT students for a client, and so I turned to CompTIA. And CompTIA, if you're not familiar with the IT field, is basically a real popular trade association, and they issue certificates for the IT industry. So if you've heard of like the A plus certificate or Net Plus, Security Plus, stuff like that, it basically helps the people who are computer support or network specialists kind of prove nationwide or worldwide that they have what it takes. They have these core skills to work in the IT field. And the awesome thing was this CompTIA has, and it's 4.7, it might be difficult to read on the screen, but in 4.7, it says, given a scenario, use proper communication techniques and professionalism. Boom, right there, soft skills. So if students are trying to get into the field, they probably want to take this test or the certification exam. Well, why not just use what they're already given to students and what they need to do anyway? And we can kind of prep them not only for the certification exam, but we're going to prep them for the workforce, because that's what CompTIA did. They did the hard work for me. They said, this is what we believe is the best thing possible. And that's like, using proper language, actively listening. When someone's explaining their problem, you want to just not tone them out and be like, this guy's a moron. I already know what it is. You want to actively listen, be culturally sensitive. I thought that was real good. Be on time, because you're usually going to appointments and stuff. Avoid distractions. Again, cell phone, anybody. And then dealing with difficult customers. I'm pretty sure all of us have good stories to share about difficult customers or clients or patients that we have worked with in the past. And so it's all about that stuff. So now I have a great start to figure out what soft skills I should implement into my curriculum. And I'm looking at right now, for me, it's the CompTIA one if I was IT. Whether it's nursing, CDL, or anything else, you want to make sure, who is the kind of who's the professional body in there, and maybe they have standards or benchmarks, or they have documentation on their website that says this is what is lacking in our profession. Maybe too. Maybe you just know from reading different articles and professional journals and whatnot. What those are. So, start at the career field guidelines, look at what the profession dictates. So I think that's going to be good. Look at those standards. Now, second, I'd like you to say, take a look back and say, what does our local businesses want from our students? Many, if not all of us, have really good rapport with our local business and our community. We try to place our students, and of course, you want to place good students, so they keep asking for more. So having like our program directors or the career management team directly ask or survey businesses that you work with can be a very good way to find out key soft skill needs. Don't waste an advisory board meeting. I know the schools that I've dealt with in the past, they have advisory board meetings, and so they invite the local businesses and they come in, and I think you should talk about soft skills every time. What do you see? And they could say, what do you see from our graduates, or what do you see in general that's lacking? And they're going to tell you. And I think that's going to be a real important takeaway to put down and maybe implement into the curriculum later on. And it's not just springing it on them on the, that night when you have that meeting, in the evening time after school, it's out. It might be helpful to say, these are the topics that are going to be happening. And, this is what you want to take a look at. Take a look at the different soft skills that we need. And here's some other questions to ask, because they're going to, if you have good people on the advisory board, they're going to spend some time the night before, at the very least, to take a look and jot down some ideas so they can have good responses to you when they come to that advisory board meeting. And then that board meeting, hopefully they can take it to the appropriate committees, the appropriate people at the school, and you can work to hopefully integrate that into the curriculum. So again, we're looking at, what does the profession dictate? What does our community dictate? And I think a third one I like to include here is just look at different frameworks. There's people who've done the hard work for us, actually. So, why reinvent the wheel? So if you're lacking some, clear needed soft skills, if you didn't really find anything out when you looked at some standards or benchmarks, and your advisory board meeting's not till next November, you could round out your research and you could turn to professional associations that have identified key soft skill components. So for example, on here, I put three, and I'll give you guys these links. I'll share a link at the very end of this that will have all the rubrics and all the different frameworks that I'll share today. So that way you could always have it. And then that way you can, investigate yourself. But the first one on the top here, this is the employability framework. And this is from the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, the OCTAE. And if you never heard of them, they administer and coordinate programs that relate to, well, obviously adult education, but they look at like literacy and career and technical education and community college and technical colleges and so on. And, they have good coverage of critical thinking, communication that we mentioned, interpersonal, personal qualities, and academic skills. So this is a good framework to kind of base what you might want to implement into your curriculum. So again, that's the Office of Career Technical and Adult Education, OCTAE, Office of Career Technical and Adult Education. Now, me, I'm based in Columbus, Ohio, with Cyanna here. So I look to, what does our local government or what does our state government offer? And for us, it's Ohio Means Jobs. They have this program where they have a readiness seal, and the readiness seal is for high school graduates, where if they complete certain tasks and demonstrate soft skills, they have to get like 2 or 3 mentors that can verify that they have demonstrated these soft skills, and they have to do certain things. There's like a rubric for them to follow. If they do this before graduation, they get a seal on their official Ohio diploma. It's pretty cool. I never heard of it until a while ago, but it's just an extra stamp of approval. So if it works for high school students, maybe it's going to work for us. It's just because it's not adult education, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. You can take really good things from Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, and I thought that was a great one too. And then there's another one. There's the literacy information and communication system. They also, just like the one above here, the OCTAE, they have a fabulous kind of framework, and they go over um, rubrics about how to do different types of communication, oral, written communication, and they also have things about simple, like what kind of math and stuff like that too. So if you're ever looking at kind of general objectives for like a math program or for a general calculations and stuff like that, the links is a very useful thing. And again, I'll provide that link too at the very end. I want to make sure you guys get that, but I don't want you to jot down this really long URL as I'm going through, and you miss one letter, or you miss a slash or something, it never works, and you're like, well, I did it. I don't know what that was, but OCTAE, the Ohio Means Jobs links, those are all excellent resources to kind of, as a third step to get good, useful, effective soft skills, not just rattling off a bunch like I had on the iceberg thing. Those are just random ones, that I picked that are important, but maybe there's ones that are most important to you and to your profession, to your community. And these 3 steps here will help you in the right direction. All right. So next up here, so we did all the research, we gathered soft skills that can help our students and our communities. What's next? Now it's time to put it into our curriculum. So what can we do to put in our curriculum? I want to kind of do a couple different avenues we can embed this into our curriculum, whether we can do it at the top level with the help of administrators and committees, or something that maybe you can do yourself next week. If you're just a faculty member, because I know there's going to be different restraints on time and availability and when meetings happen. And sometimes it's not going to be super easy to change things. And I understand that. So I want to give you a couple different avenues how you can implement these into your curriculum. And the first, and just because I'm a curriculum developer at heart, is that I always like to say, go with your objectives. Specify soft skills students can demonstrate mastery of during your program. So just explicitly include soft skills within the main objectives of the course and program. You can implement a general soft skill course objective and then apply specific weekly soft skills objectives to students to master each week. I'm thinking up top of my head, maybe like a course objective of professionalism. And then each week you can cover an aspect of that, a type of professionalism you want them to demonstrate. Now that it's a standard, it's an objective in your course, we can map it to make sure, they are indeed receiving, and you can show that they are mastering this type of soft skill. So if it's in the course objective, it's in a weekly objective, we can map that back and we can prove that they are, the students are mastering this type of soft skills, whether it's communication or professionalism or critical thinking or whatever it might be. So put it into the objectives. And just note, when you put it into the objectives, think about what class they're in, and how you want them to master that certain soft skill. So for example, maybe at the beginning of a student's program, whether they're taking kind of more general ed courses, or they're brand new, it's the first module, their first semester. Maybe you want to aim for the lower levels of Bloom's taxonomy, the rote memorization or comprehension parts of the pyramid there. Just understanding different soft skills and its importance will be a good first step for a student. But as they strive for, later on in the core programs, or they're getting kind of, to the halfway point or past the halfway point, start thinking about those higher levels of learning in a program. So the creating, the evaluating, the analyzing. So not just the rote memorization, they have to kind of analyze and judge themselves. Use those action verbs. If you are looking for good, different types of standards and objectives, just Google action verbs objectives or course objectives. People make all kinds of cool different like cheat sheets that have a bunch of neat action verbs that will go for creating, evaluating, all the way down to remembering. So you can kind of use that as a guide to say, okay, I want students to, judge or evaluate or analyze some things. And those should be the higher level ones. Again, you don't want them to analyze stuff right off the bat. They have to kind of build up their mastery of soft skills. So we want to make sure we implement soft skills in a specific part, a specific in a methodical way in the curriculum. So they are, leveling up as they go to, to graduation. So again, make sure those objectives are in there, and that will help out a whole lot. All right. So you got the objectives, and you're thinking, okay, this is pretty pretty much makes sense of like if you put the objective in, it's going to cover it, and we can map it out, and we can prove a mastery of it, and we can prove a non-mastery of it as well. So I think it's a good first step. If you really want to put it, embed it into curriculum, the best way you're going to do it is going through objectives. But at the same time, I realize that maybe you can't implement soft skills into objectives, or if you want to implement soft skills before the before the official committee meetings and stuff. I know that doesn't happen, every day, all the time. So maybe it takes a little while to get those objectives into the curriculum, because there is a process that needs to take place and get approved at different levels. So sometimes it's a difficult journey, and maybe it's just not in your area that you want to do quite yet. Or maybe it is something you want to do, but again, it's going to be a long process. So you want to do something a little bit quicker. The one thing I also recommend is put it in the syllabi. And I think a lot of us do this anyway. I'm pretty sure if I ask you guys if you guys have some type of soft skills in your syllabi, you probably will say yes. And what I'm thinking about in my own syllabus, I have a late policy, and my late policy is, you cannot turn in work late or past the due date unless you provide proactive communication. Because I think that is a good kind of match up to what the real world is. I can't like call off today and then like in the middle of the day or at the last second, call my boss and be like, hey, sorry, I'm not coming in. I'm obviously he already knows because I haven't showed up to work yet. That's not a good practice to have, because I know there are certain things that happen. My car doors froze the other week because I was in the polar vortex, and so like there was just ice everywhere. Everything was frozen. It was negative 15. I understand that people might have trouble getting to work if they had to go to work those days. I know things come up with family members and stuff. I think my boss is not super mean that he would say, you have to come in no matter what. He understands there's certain things, but as long as I'm proactive in giving that explanation, I think I'm okay in the real world. And we want to kind of put that into the perspective of our syllabi. What kind of real world things can we implement in our syllabi? Now, for me, that late policy is just part of my rules and stuff in my syllabi. A better thing that I can do and that I recommend doing is pulling out those kind of soft skill rules and put them in a soft skill section, or provide a separate document that kind of lists what the soft skills they're going to learn and what the soft skill rules are in your class and why it's important. Again, always say why, not just like, hear ye, here's your scroll of thou shalt not do this. It's kind of a bummer to read all those. But if you kind of give the preface of, hey, these are the soft skills in my class because I really want you to excel in the profession of your choice. And this is why. And these are what's deemed important. And I might just say, this is deemed important because this is what the research says. This is what the professions say. This is what the people in the local community say that they're looking for in a candidate. Why would you not want to, they're telling you what they're looking for. It's like a cheat sheet. The people in your community are giving you a cheat sheet to go after those soft skills. So put those in the syllabi. I think we can edit our syllabi a little bit easier than we can our kind of standards or overall standards. So it's a nice way to implement soft skills a little bit quicker. And again, we might have it in there already. We could just have to rearrange the way it looks a little bit. Maybe, I take out my late policy. I keep it in there as a formal late policy, but I bring it out into a soft skill section. And I talk about being punctual and being at work on time and stuff like that. And that's going to be a rule that we're going to enforce in my classroom. So that's going to be something too. So, and hopefully you have, someone said they have a trash can for late assignments unless they contact me. Yeah, that's perfect. And communication is the key. And again, I'm not, the evil teacher that has they draw the horns. I mean, maybe they do, but, I'm not out to get them. I say, I'm here to help them. And, whether I'm throwing their stuff away in the trash can, and it does, honestly, it does. It's not a good feeling when I have to go, I teach online and I have to put zeros in people's grade books. I know they missed the assignment and they didn't give me any what's up. It's the due date. Usually I wait the next day after work and I grade some assignments in the evening. And it's not in there. It's way past the time. It's not in there. I have to give them a zero. I'm say, a deadline was missed. No proactive communication. If someone gave me a heads up and just said, I'm pretty okay on stuff. If someone said, hey, my car broke down, or my sister had an issue with a family member, whatever it might be. Don't tell me all the details. I'll get it. I'll let you slide. Just get in there by tonight. You know what I mean? I'm not out to get them. And maybe if I was in a higher level course, I might be more stringent. But I teach more of a lower level at the beginning of their journey at the college. So I'm not super nitpicky yet, but I do need that proactive communication. So what you can do is, again, implement in a syllabi. So the first step is try to do the objectives. The objectives are kind of a obtuse process or something that is going to take a long time, which is fine. It should take a long time. It should be reviewed by the appropriate people. Maybe we can do something a little bit quicker. We can do something next semester. That's going to be the syllabus. Now, the other thing I want to do is kind of go maybe even quicker. And so what you can do is have rubrics in your class. So one thing I always like to emphasize is that, a very nice substitution that we can use for schools that have like a participation kind of grade in the grade book is use a soft skills rubric in place of that participation rubric. Thinking about, it's not enough to just show up at work and be there. I had a client and she had a thing about presenteeism, which is the work is there, like physically there, but not like mentally there. So they're not doing a great service to the job or the company when they're at work. Even though they're there, they're not really there. And that's kind of what I think like when you get like a participation grade is like, oh, they showed up to my class, congratulations, check mark, they get full credit. And I'm thinking like that's not enough. I think if you're really interested in the soft skills, it's showing up on time, it's being alert, it's being ready, having all your stuff ready, it's communicating well with myself as an instructor, with your fellow classmates and all that stuff. And it's not a difficult thing to do because you can kind of eyeball it out and you know that Jimmy's not really communicating well, or that Joanne, said an appropriate word or something. I can remember that at the end of the class. I can jot that down, or I can just make a note on my desk on a piece of paper real quickly to remind myself later on. So it's not like extra work to do, but I think it's a more honest evaluation of the student participating in your class. It's a soft skills rubric. I have a rubric that I use as a generic one. It's a start kind of one that we like to share with different people. I like to share with different people, so I want to give it to you guys today. So then I'll give you a link for that as well. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has like exceptionally well, and satisfactory and poor. That way I can give them, it's not like an all or nothing. You can do an all or nothing as well. You could rank it 4 through 0, 1 or 2, whatever you want to do. But it's a rubric that you can definitely edit and you can add to it, delete it and whatnot. But I like to give you the framework because sometimes I think having a nice framework there is going to be good to have a rubric. Now, at the same time, you want to make sure that, if you can, make this as much as a school-wide policy than not, even with the syllabi and stuff. It's one thing to have like David's the strict teacher and he always says zeros for everybody if they don't turn it in. But then someone down the hallway is a lot more lenient. And that's okay. I think everybody has their own way of teaching, and I'm not attacking anybody who thinks, is a little bit more lenient. I'm sure they have very good reasons, and, I'll probably back them up on it. But like in my classroom, my mindset is doing the soft skills and kind of replicating what's going to happen on the workforce. You don't show up 4 days and you don't give any like call up, you're probably going to be in trouble. And so I want them to kind of be in trouble in my class. So I'm just trying to mimic that. There might be a whole different reasoning why someone might do it differently. But at the same time, if you can have a faculty meeting where you get everybody on board and have a consistent policy throughout, it's going to be a huge difference. Because again, we want to establish that habit. So the habit's going to be, I just need to do it at 8 o'clock at David's class, but everybody else I'm okay in. And so that's not going to translate well to the workforce. We want to make sure they are going to be at 8 o'clock or at 9:30, 11:30, that 2 o'clock class or whatever it might be. We want to make sure they're always going to arrive on time. They're always going to communicate well. They're always going to be a professional in the lab, in the classroom. And so if you can, see if you can implement some policies kind of school wide, or at least do it program wide. So all the medical assistants need to do this, all the dental assistants need to do this, all the business students need to do this. But if you can do it all across the board, it's going to seem more fair as well. And so you're not going to, put somebody in a tough place. I think sometimes, if you have a rookie teacher, or you have someone who is still trying to learn the ropes of classroom management stuff, and they have actually a good policy in place, but the students always try. It's like the mom and dad thing that I've done in the past, and my kid does to me is, you go for mom for one thing, you go to dad and you say the same thing, and you try to pit them against each other and see who gives you the better answer. It's the same thing. Students will do that too. So they'll say, well, Mrs. So and so lets me do this, or Mr. So and so lets me do that. How come you're not as cool as him, or how come you're so out to get me, and stuff like that. If you could have a blanket policy, it's going to eliminate some of those hiccups down the road. So if you can, again, it's always better to work as a team. I know it's not the easiest thing, but again, put it on the agenda. And the next time you're at a faculty meeting, bring it up, or talk to the academic dean or whoever is going to hold these meetings and say, I really think we should at least talk about maybe instituting a rubric-wide soft skills participation grade in our courses. And I think this will be because blah, 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 and I think that's, if you don't say anything, nothing's going to happen. So I think at least you could do is bring it up, and you're going to get good reasons why you cannot do it at this time. All right, let's get into the thing. So, again, rubric you might be able to do, and hopefully my little kind of foundational one will help you a little bit. The best thing I found out, and this was recommended by many teachers that we've discussed soft skills with, and this is something they can do tomorrow if they wanted to, is always think about soft skills in activities or lab assignments or anything like a demonstration that happens in class, because you control that for the most part. I believe is that you as the instructor, you might not be able to edit the syllabus. You probably can't change the objectives alone. It's going to take a campus-wide effort for that. But if someone is, and I'll just give an example of a medical, if someone's going to take my blood pressure, for example, I think it's real important they follow the rules of washing their hands properly, and they attach the cuff properly, and they take an accurate measurement of heartbeats and whatever it might be. But I also think it's super important too not to leave out, like, did they greet the customer the right way? Did they use a lot of jargon when they're talking to the customer or the patient? Or did they put the patient at ease and really explain to them in like layman's terms of what's going to happen, what they should feel, and et cetera, et cetera? Did they smile? Some teachers mock being a difficult patient. How do they respond for someone who's difficult, who's like nasty to the student in a demonstration, or maybe it's an official assessment that they get. You get a checklist of what they need to do a procedure. They're underneath the hood of a car, or they're in the lab, in a medical lab, whatever it might be. How well are they working with the client? How well are they working with other people in there? And maybe it's something that just, you could just do tomorrow. Again, it's just something you're like, I'm going to add some soft skills into my demonstration where people are doing it. Or I'm just going to at least tell them, I think the very least you can do is say, when you do the procedure, make sure you smile, make sure you explain, and take time before you just go right in and start cuffing up a patient. It's going to be real important. Again, that habit to begin right now in your classroom, in your lab, is one that they can build and take up all the way to the workforce. And it's going to be a great idea. So I think one thing too is for this role play too is that what I realized too in some situations is that we are role models, and Sheila mentioned this in the chat here. So thank you for doing that. Again, I think Sheila's looking over my shoulder. Is that we need to be role models ourselves. So we can't speak ill of other teachers or other students. We can't roll into class 5 minutes late. And, I know some of us, I have a cart that I have to push around or whatever. I teach in room 205, then I have to go to building number 2 and teach in building, in 230 or whatever it might be. I know it's difficult to get here and there. But again, if you want to instill soft skills in our students, not only do we have to role play in demonstrations, we have to be a good role model for our students as well. So we have to be, there and then be physically there, not just put through the motions. Here's a slideshow that that was pre-made or something. Make it your own. Tell stories from the battlegrounds of you're a practitioner, you probably have all kinds of great stories that relate to the topics. Tell them that people love stories. You have to be actively there if you want them to be actively participating in class. It's a two-way street, and we don't want to forget that. And I know for some people you're like, of course, but I think when you start looking around, especially if you're an academic dean or program coordinator, take a look around and see if who's going through the motions, who probably could use a soft skills training course in your building. And that's something a lot of teachers do too, is to take soft skills training as a teacher. What can I do as a teacher, not to teach soft skills, but what can I do that can have good examples for soft skills in the classroom? Because it's not easy. I think especially coming from a practitioner going into the classroom, you're throwing a lot of different balls to juggle, and I totally understand that. And time is always fading away as we try to prepare for everything and grade stuff, and we have to do extra stuff, especially when it comes to different times of the year. But I also think it's going to pay off in the end, because I think no matter who you are, if you're in the business, you love to see your students graduate at the very end. You'd love them to be to be successful. A lot of my students will add me on Facebook after the fact, and I'll just accept them and stuff because I like seeing them like they're in this job. And people 5-7 years ago, they're like a director now at the local hospital. It's so awesome to see that stuff, and that has to motivate you to want them to succeed and to go, I would say, go above and beyond. I think we wear many caps. There's a presentation later on about all the different hats we wear as an instructor. We're not just a teacher any longer. We wear a lot of different things, and we are different people to the students. I think that's important to be in there. But at the same time, I think it's important just to have a good basis of sound soft skills for us as well, and be good role models in addition to doing the role playing. So hopefully that is a-okay. I think it's just something that I think it's overlooked sometimes. I always think is how do I expect my students to demonstrate soft skills if one of my instructors is not the most soft skilly person in the building. You have to have good role models, and it has to be there all the time. A lot of times we hear people say they're edutainers. You have to turn on the switch, no matter what kind of day you're having at home, or what's happening in traffic wise getting to the building. As soon as you step on grounds, boom, that switch has to be turned on. You have to be on for the students. And on is, on to be a good educator, but on with your soft skills as well. Smile at everybody. You can't just put your head down in the hallway and go. You have to be, demonstrate those good soft skills, not only when you're standing in front of the classroom, but in between them as well. So just kind of keep that in mind when we think about role play. Be a good role model as well. It's kind of an addition to role play. So I like this quote at the very end here, and it's basically about those habits we're trying to establish here. It's hard to break habits. If the students are allowed to arrive late to class throughout most of their time at your school, that habit will be hard to break easily as they graduate. If a student is allowed to use profanity sometimes, or they let it slip a lot, or they let it slip in one other person's class, that's going to be difficult to break. Using their cell phones in class, that's going to be difficult to break. And so, really what we want to do is aim to curb these kind of bad soft skill behaviors at the very start. And if we could do it quickly, we can work with them to get it in place and figure out tactics to help them out. I would love for to go a whole nother hour on all the different ways that you can implement soft skills, but there's so many different lab settings. There's different classroom settings, classroom sizes, that it's really going to take a little bit of reflecting on the different assignments yourself and seeing what kind of things can I do to my assignments, my demonstrations. It could just be yourself. You're going to give a demo today. There's maybe going to be a demo student, but maybe I'm going to talk about soft skills a little bit more. I'm going to enforce it a little bit better. What are things I can change on my syllabus to make it more explicit that soft skills are important for graduates to go in the workforce? And what can I do at the higher level with standards, with objectives? Maybe that's going to be a whole campus effort to put those in there. And again, work with the people that will give you, a lot of advice. I know a lot of people want to help, whether it's you could start with the career management department. You can go to those framework websites. Start with people in your community, ask the different business and so on. And all this will help you get these habits down. But you have to start somewhere. And I think this will give you a good foundation to implement soft skills. Because once you get the core soft skills down and you get ways to implement it, whether it's the syllabus, it's this assignment, it's through objectives, then you're really going to figure out, okay, now I'm going to do it in this assignment. I'm doing this assignment. I'm doing this assignment. I'm doing this demonstration. And it's really going to kind of spark the way that you can get these soft skills in front of the students as fast as possible. So with that said, I want to make sure there's enough time for questions at the end. And I know everybody is busy today. I do want to let you know that you could definitely keep in touch. Thursday, we have the next one. It's Beyond Knowledge, Investigating Quality Students Prefer in Faculty. So we're talking about that soft skill at the very end, being a good role model. It's going to dive into what students look for. What does the research say? What does people say when we go out to different schools and as part of Cyanna, I go out to different conferences and I like to just chat with everybody. It's the best time to go meet everybody face to face and talk shop. But find out what people say that is the best things that students prefer in faculty members, and making sure we can implement that in the classroom. And then next week we have building teamwork, which is very important. Again, how are we going to expect the students to build teamwork in group assignments if we're not going to build teamwork as a faculty? And so it's building teamwork within the faculty members, but also with the different departments in your school. One cohesive team is going to take you a really good places. Think about developing a team to implement standards. Can you do this alone? Probably not. Can you do it with some core people? Maybe. But could you implement this if you have the admissions department, the career management department, and the faculty department, and the academic department all working together to maybe implement soft skills into the curriculum? I bet you can, because everybody's going to be working together, and you're going to have a lot more cogs in there to help you out. So we're going to talk about teamwork and going above caring. It's wearing those many hats. What can we do as an instructor that's just more than standing in front of the class and lecturing away and whatnot. So there's a lot of good stuff coming on. And then just keep in mind that May 23rd to 25th is the Professional Development Conference in Reston, Virginia. I only mention that because I know my team here at Cyanna is working to put together kind of a follow-up to this soft skills presentation to really dive into all the different types of activities we can do. Again, I could spend another hour talking about activities, which I'd probably get booted off the webinar if I kept going that long. But I do want to share it. Now, again, we have to submit it, and there's a acceptance process and stuff like that. But I know they're working on it. So if you're interested, let me know. I might see you there. And if you can't make it there, let me know, because if we do present it, I know sometimes they share those slideshows and stuff, and I'll make sure you get a copy if you want. If you're still having trouble, like you took the first step today and you have standards, or you put it in your syllabus, but you're still having a little bit of trouble finding out what activities to kind of implement in the classroom. We're going to kind of go deeper dive, not so much general, but like a specific activity. I have a lot of different activities I'd like to share with you. And again, if you just have something that you want to share, you can definitely reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you. But those are the ways to keep in touch. And I promised you at the very end that I'll share the rubric with you. So my soft skills rubric is right here. The links to those different frameworks are on there. It's cyanna.com/David. I believe they made a landing page for me. That way I could share as much as I want on there. I say I need this shared, and then they'll put it up as links. So those links are available at cyanna.com/David. That's where you can get my personal stuff. That's my rubric. That's going to be my links that were in here for the frameworks, the Ohio Means Jobs, and the rubrics and reports that talk about soft skills for the other different areas. And then if you do want a copy of the presentation, you want a copy of a certificate, and you want a copy of this webinar, the audio and video and all, that's all going to be available on the ACCSC website, accsc.org. Give us a day or two before we get it all, because the video has to convert and all the fun stuff, and it has to get to the right IT people to get it up there. So our team has to work with ACCSC's team to make sure everything is A-OK. But give it a little bit of time, and you will have a copy of my slideshow. I'll save it as a PDF. That way you can, I know in a PDF you can view it as a slideshow actually in PDF, but you could always view it, because I know I'm a Mac guy, so this is actually in Keynote. I know a lot of people don't have Keynote, so I'm going to share it as a PDF so everybody can download it, no matter if you're a PC or a Mac person. In addition, the certificate will be available again after this website. As soon as I hit, I think, close here and everybody's out, it kicks a automatic email to anybody who signed up. You get that certificate. If you didn't get it in the handouts already, it will be available in an email that gets sent to you. And then it's also going to be available on the accsc.org website after the fact. After we upload everything, that certificate will be there. It's a general, I think it's a PDF that you can print out, put individual people's names on it. So if you want to print 20 copies, print 20 copies, and you can have one for each one. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, reach out to whoever your contact is at ACCSC, or reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you out and make sure you get a certificate. I know sometimes it's difficult to download stuff and it just doesn't open right, but I can get a copy. I have a copy saved on my computer right now, just in case anybody needs an assistance for that stuff. So if you have any questions, hang on there. I'll try to get to the different questions in the question bank here. I'll try to, if it's not like a personal one, I'll try to answer it live on now. I have a couple minutes. Again, I want to leave a couple minutes left. I have about 7 minutes to stick around. If you are good to go, you're not going to hurt my feelings. You're more than welcome to sign off. And I appreciate you sticking with me today and having a good time, I think, of, finding out ways soft skills can be implemented. I know this is not the most fantastic wow-y type of thing sometimes, but I think getting that good framework and getting a good process to effectively implement it and doing it from start to finish, you're going to see a big difference in your students if you can do it, whether it's standards, objectives, whether it's your syllabus, maybe it's just in your own classroom. There's different ways you can attack this, and each way is going to be effective. As long as you put the time into it, I think you're going to be A-okay. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, expect an email coming out to people, and then with the certificate PDF in it. And if not, hang out for a little bit, a day or two, and go to the website. You should see it under events and then webinars. And then you'll see this webinar here. You won't be able to sign up for it anymore, but the copy of the presentation, a copy of the certificate will be there. And then anything else that they deem that's going to be important to put up there, they'll put it up there. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'm going to start answering questions now. So again, stick around a little bit. Someone was asking, a couple people asking about copy of the presentation. I'll definitely get you one. I'll make sure it's up on the ACCSC website. And if you saw the webinar sign-in sheet, I'm not keeping a sign-in sheet. I'm not keeping attendance. That's for you to print out if you need one. I know sometimes, and I've done it before, where I gather around my faculty members and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to make a sign-in sheet. Well, just download the doc file. It's a Word document file, print it off, and you can have your sign-in sheet. Some people watch alone in their office on their laptop. Some people gather around and have a couple chairs. Some people put it up on the big screen in the classroom and watch in a group. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to get that sign-in sheet. So thank you very much. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, the soft skills rubric. I know some people said the soft skills rubric. They'll definitely be on that website, cyanna.com/David. It's an Excel file, and you should be able to edit it. So that's just a generic one that I have, and you're more than welcome to edit it how you see fit. Sometimes some things that I think that's should be important in my area, in my community, can be something totally different. Feel free to edit and copy that as well. And then the recording is also going to be available. Sweet. All right, everybody, don't worry about attendance. Like your trash can. I like that. Yeah. So, and it's being consistent. That's a good point to make, is, not be strict one day when your LA Rams lose the game or your Saints lose the game and have a bad day, and no one could turn things in. And the next day, for me, it's the Ohio State Buckeyes win a game, and I'm like, everybody gets A's. You have to be strategic, and you have to be consistent in, if you say it's a zero policy, it doesn't matter if it's the person who turns in things late 20 times in the class, or it's the person who's your straight A student who just missed that day. You have to be consistent and fair to everybody when you think of these rules, these soft skill rules. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind. So thank you so much. Someone said, I want to share this one. We pre-test our students with the work keys assessment to guarantee a certain level of academic skills. That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of work keys assessments. I know some schools use the EQ, the emotional intelligence. There's a couple freebie ones. There's paid ones you can get. Not saying that's the end all be all, but it's kind of a, quote unquote fun activity to do for students to kind of say, oh, I didn't know about that myself, but it's also a good indicator to have them self-assess and you assess to see maybe, what one group is. Maybe they do it during orientation or do it during one of your first classes, or they do it like on a Friday or a Thursday or whatever. They take this EQ test or this work skills test, and you kind of get a good representation of like what you might lack and what you don't. And again, it's not going to be like the crystal ball. If you answer 35 questions, it's going to know you to a T. It's a good indicator. It's something to take a self reflection on. I think so. Definitely the pretest is very very helpful. The readiness to also attest to students' academic skills within the workplace context. Yep, yep. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of good stuff out on there for the different associations. So um, awesome. Everybody has the stuff. A lot of good things like the firm handshake and stuff. Like, you think some of those things are not a big deal, but they certainly are. They say that you form an opinion from somebody like the first moments that you walk into an interview. So if you're not smiling, you kind of have this like frown on you because you're nervous or something. That's what people recognize about you the first time. So it's like telling people like come to my class, with a smile. At the same time, I have to come into the class in a smile. I have to, I'm excited and stuff too, and I have to make sure, I think when you're around excited people, you're around happy people, it's easy to be happy. But if you're around somebody who's like always brings you down, it's tough to build yourself up. So, you're going to be a core person in this. So you want to make sure you can be the person that can, be the, again, role model for the students. If you have any trouble with anything with the different documents, let a contact the ACCSC know, or let me know if it's one of my documents. I'll try to get it to you in a different format. If you don't have Excel, for example, I can save it in numbers format, or at least give it to you in a PDF or a doc file, maybe. That way you can at least see the stuff. And hopefully everything is okay. If you had any technical issues throughout, or if the audio dropped, or the screen froze, or your computer crashed, again, there will be a copy of this presentation throughout. It's going to be a little bit later, so give it a day or two, and it'll be a copy of the presentation that you can play, rewind, fast forward. So if you were a-okay for the first 20 minutes, but you dropped out somewhere in the midway point, you can view that video later on, and you can get it. See, I teach my soft skills seminar during the first term of the student's career here. Yeah, perfect. So George said that they do soft skills at the very beginning. That's perfect. Do it at the very beginning, but make sure it's also being assessed and checked throughout, because sometimes it's easy, and we've done this before at different colleges, is that I've seen this happen where you do have a soft skills day, or you do these soft skills thing during orientation, and you're excited, and you kind of do some things about yourself, and then you pretty much don't think about it until the very end, and so you miss this big gap in the middle. So I'm not saying this person does it. I'm just saying you want to be careful about doing it only at the beginning or only at the end. You want to do it all throughout. But I think George has a great way to begin it, is to kick it off during the first term of a student's career if you can. If you have a student success class, that's perfect. Orientation class, or sometimes you just use the first 5 minutes of your class. Maybe you're in the lab or you're in the shop, and you have the first 5 minutes to say, "Hey, when you're out there, we're going to be working on so and so. I want you to be cognizant about how you're working with the patients. Are you smiling at the patient?" And it's going to be people are going to be, it's weird to smile at my friend all the time, but like you have to pretend, you have to do this kind of habit to always smile when you see a patient, no matter if someone's wearing a Michigan Wolverine shirt, or if someone's my friend or whatever. I always have to smile. It's a patient, it's a customer. You always have to be nice to that customer, and have that good soft skills to relate to that customer. So it's good. Um, yeah, perfect. Sheila, I appreciate you sharing this one. When you think of soft skills, it's easy to think of soft skills in person to person, but also think about on the phone. And that's a good thing we think about when I was doing the one about the IT people, the IT support. We actually have a demonstration or a lab where we mock call people. And so, I use I have a couple phones, so I might FaceTime somebody. I might, take a look at, getting, just fake phones that don't plug in, and it could be fun. I bring in like a rotary phone or something, just to see what students think about a rotary phone. But like, it's just, picking up the phone and calling somebody. If you can't do it for real, at least mock it up. And then I'm sitting there assessing a student because of how well they're troubleshooting a customer's problem through the phone. That's a perfect way to do it. So always think of in person, on the phone, remotely, and then think about the interaction, not just with the clients or the customers or the patient, but think about to a supervisor, to a fellow teammate, and so on. You want to make sure that's okay. And hopefully everybody's okay with everything. I said, if you have any trouble, I think I know some people said their control panel they weren't showing. Sometimes mine pops in behind my window, like my screen. So I know sometimes you have to kind of click around to see it. So hopefully that's okay. And then Mina, thank you so much. And this is huge, and this is kind of a different topic in itself, but it does lend itself to soft skills. Is that if you can share your real life experience of a soft skills, either pro or con or a problem or an issue, that's going to hit home. I mean, I could say, communication is very important in the workplace and give a definition of communication and be kind of textbook like about it. Or I can give an example of how this time when I was at the lab where I was in the shop and we had a miscommunication with something and it cost me a project, a client. That's going to hit home a little bit better. So if you can, not only, again, depending on where you're at, maybe you just have to give them some core definitions of what is good communication, what is professionalism. But as they go on through their career or their time at your school, maybe it is about sharing experiences. So they hits home a little better. Stories always work. Stories are always better than I think academic type of definitions. And everybody else has a lot of good ones: cohesion, enthusiastic, critical thinker, empathy. I love that one. Being adaptable to change. Public speaking is huge, and that's one. If I had another hour to give, I would say think of ways that you can communicate with people well in a public setting. So if you can set an example of not only to communicate to like inform somebody, and that's a typical get up in front of the class and inform somebody of here's my report on Booker T. Washington, and you inform people of who he is and what he did and so on. But you want to also think of assignments that are public speaking wise that also deal with persuading people. You might be in a boardroom, you might be in a faculty meeting. You have to persuade people. You have to persuade somebody to implement objectives into the syllabi. So there's that persuasion. So it's not always to inform; it's to persuade, or maybe it's to sell something. You always have to sell. Not maybe a product. You're not going to be a salesman, but you have to sell ideas and sell. You have to speak up for oneself and why you think it is. Some people do debates, which is very good. If you feel like you are in a position where your class can do a debate and it can be handled properly, then a debate's huge because it does implement a lot of soft skills. So there's a lot of cool activities you can do. Shayla, thank you for putting in my mind about doing public speaking. That's huge. Being public speaking. So I think I'm going to go over here. I'm about 4 or 5 minutes over here, so I do want to stop here and make sure if don't want to keep everybody too long. Also, I don't want to interrupt anybody's time if there's other things going off of it. Um, let's see. So So Larry, professional skills of communication, oral and written, resourcefulness, commitment, analytical, interpersonal are emphasized in the first chapter of the book, in his PowerPoint, and that's perfect. We do not accept late assignments to emphasize timeliness, and that's perfect. You want to make sure that in Larry's class, that's the way it's done. Hopefully, it's done in Larry's co-workers class as well and other classrooms, because that's going to instill some good habits. So I'm glad people are already doing this. And if you are, I think it's just a way to take a step back and reflect and go bigger. If you're doing your class, why not try to get it done across the board in all classes? And don't be afraid to ask. The worst you can do is just ask. And if it doesn't happen today. It might happen the next time around, or maybe you can get some ideas from the people. If Larry's doing his class, I might go over and knock on his door, like knock knock. Hey Larry, I hear the students really like your soft skill stuff, and maybe Larry could share some stuff with me. So hopefully you can get some good stuff on there, and then everybody can be a-okay. And then let's see, I'll have a couple more questions here. You made soft skills mandatory. So this is Maxine made soft skills mandatory in all classes in the dental assisting program. We set up mock appointments, perfect, and persuade the patient to take x-rays. Awesome. That's perfect, because you're not going to get the perfect patient all the time who sits there and is still and is like, oh yeah, sure, just put all these instruments in my mouth, no problem. You really have to have that people skill to be a good dental assistant, right? You might know all the different tools, and I said you might know how to use amalgam and all that stuff, but if you're not good with people, you might not last long after you get placed. And we want to make sure our students are not only getting placed, but they're getting placed and they're staying with their place of employment, and they're moving up. So thank you, Maxine. It's a good idea to include that in all the lab. I think the lab setting's awesome. Treat the lab as if it was the workplace. They have to wear the uniform or the scrubs or whatever it might be. They have to use perfect communication, professional communication. They have to be, good to the client, the patient all the time. I think those are all things that could be good habits. As soon as they step in the lab, boom, it's on. It could be 5 minutes before class starts. They can't be talking about crazy stuff. It's like as soon as you're in this lab, boom, it's go time. So thank you so much. And so that is everything. Again, one last time, because I want to quit before the 10-minute mark, is that if you have the certificate, it's in the handout section. If you can see your GoToWebinar control panel, it's in the handout section. You should see the soft skills certificate, the PDF. The ACCSC team made a PDF that it has like the ACCS logo and the information on it, but it doesn't have your name on it. So you can download a generic one and put your name. If you're with a group, you can print out 10, 15, 20 copies and write everybody's name on it and file it away appropriately. I know on the Mac, if you open the PDF in preview, there is a toolbar where you can actually type the names in there. So you can actually do it in digital form on the PC. I'm not a big PC person. I don't think you could do it in like Adobe Reader, but if you have a higher version or maybe a third party a PDF reader, you might be able to like type in a PDF. But I know on a Mac under preview, just the standard preview that comes with the Mac computer, you can edit and add stuff in there. So appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And again, look for the copy of the presentation, the certificate, any handouts and stuff. That will all be on the accsc.org website. You go to events, you go to webinars, and you should be good to go. So with that, I hopefully will see a bunch of you on Thursday. We have another round two, and hopefully everything goes awesome. And I'd love to hear some stories. I'll try to pop in early on Thursday in case you have any stories that you want to share or something that worked or didn't work. I'd be more than happy to hear it. And again, Cyanna.com/David to see my rubric and some of those frameworks. So with that, have a fantastic afternoon and have a fantastic week. Thank you so, so much. Appreciate it.